I slept with my husband's brother to get revenge, and it was the worst mistake of my life. 2 years ago, I caught my husband cheating on me, and the best revenge I could possibly think of was to cheat with his brother, but that was the biggest mistake of my life. I remember the moment the thought crossed my mind. It didn't feel like a mistake. It felt like justice. It felt like the only way to balance the scales of a universe that had just crushed me. But I was wrong. I thought I was holding a sword to strike back at my husband. I didn't realize I was actually holding a grenade. And when I pulled the pin, I didn't just blow up my marriage. I blew up a family. I destroyed a bond between brothers that had lasted 30 years. And I shattered my own soul in the process. Now, I live in a quiet house with the curtains drawn, haunted by the look on my brother-in-law's face the morning after. Revenge is not sweet, it is rot, and it has eaten me alive. But before I take you back to the worst week of my life, before I confess to the sins that keep me awake at night, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. I am sharing this story because I need to get it out of my head, and because I want to warn you. If you are hurting, do not do what I did. Tell me in the comments. If you were betrayed by the person you loved most, would you walk away with your head high, or would you try to burn their world to the ground, even if you burned with it? To understand why I snapped, you have to understand what I lost. Mark and I were the perfect couple. We were high school sweethearts who made it out of our small town. He was the ambitious architect. I was the interior designer. We built a life that looked flawless on Instagram. We had been married for 5 years, but we had been together for 10. I knew him better than I knew myself. Or I thought I did. We had been trying for a baby for 2 years. It was a struggle. IVF injections, negative tests, tears in the bathroom at 3 a.m. Through it all, Mark held me. He told me, "It's us against the world, Maya. No matter what happens, we have each other." I believed him. I believed him when he said he had to work late to pay for the treatments. I believed him when he said he was stressed and just needed space on the weekends. I was so focused on becoming a mother, I didn't notice I was losing my wife title. It was a Tuesday in November, a cold, rainy night. Mark had come home late, smelling of rain and something else. Vanilla? He went straight to the shower. He left his phone on the nightstand. He usually kept it face down or in his pocket, but tonight he was careless. I was reading in bed. The phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again and again. A frantic buzzing. I looked over. The screen lit up. A message from Project Manager Dave. "Why did you leave so early? The bed is cold. I miss you already." My heart didn't just stop. It plummeted into my stomach. Dave. Project Manager Dave. I reached out. My hand felt like it belonged to someone else. It was shaking violently. I picked up the phone. I typed in the passcode 1014, our anniversary. It unlocked. I opened the message. It wasn't Dave. It was a selfie. A woman, young, maybe 24, blonde, lying in a bed with tangled sheets. The caption read, "Come back. She doesn't need to know." I felt a physical blow to my chest. I couldn't breathe. I scrolled up. The history went back 6 months. 6 months. While I was getting hormone injections, crying over negative pregnancy tests, he was taking her to expensive dinners. He was telling her I was depressing. He was telling her he stayed with me out of pity. Pity. I dropped the phone on the bed as if it were burning hot. I heard the shower turn off. I quickly put the phone back on the nightstand, face down. I turned off the lamp and lay in the dark, my eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling fan. When Mark got into bed, he tried to spoon me. "Good night, babe," he whispered. I felt his skin against mine, and I wanted to scream. I wanted to vomit, but I didn't. I lay there, frozen, while a cold, black hatred bloomed in my chest. I didn't want to confront him. Confrontation gives him a chance to lie, to beg, to explain. I didn't want explanations. I wanted blood. The next morning, Mark left for work. He kissed me goodbye like everything was normal. I spent the day pacing the house. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was in a state of hyper-focused rage. I thought about keying his car. I thought about burning his clothes. I thought about posting the screenshots on Facebook, but none of that felt like enough. Those were petty revenges. They would annoy him, sure, but they wouldn't break him. I wanted to break him. I wanted to take something from him that he could never get back. I wanted to taint his life so deeply that he would never feel clean again. And then I thought of Ethan, Mark's younger brother. Ethan was the opposite of Mark. Where Mark was loud, arrogant, and successful, Ethan was quiet, kind, and struggling. He worked at a bookstore. He drove an old car. But Mark loved him. They were inseparable. Their father had died when they were young, and Mark had raised Ethan. They had a bond that was sacred. Ethan looked up to Mark like a god. And I knew Ethan had always had a soft spot for me. Mark used to joke about it. My little brother thinks you hung the moon, Maya. If I slept with a stranger, Mark would be angry. He would play the victim. But if I slept with Ethan, it would destroy Mark's history. It would poison his memories. It would tear the family apart from the inside out. It was nuclear warfare. And I decided to push the button. 2 days later, Mark told me he had a client dinner and would be home late. I knew he was with the girl. I called Ethan. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Mark's working late again. I made a huge lasagna and I hate eating alone. Do you want to come over? Ethan. Sweet, innocent. Ethan. Didn't hesitate. Of course, Maya. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I need to pause here. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking I am a monster. And you are right. But pain makes you blind. Pain makes you selfish. I want to ask you a hard question. Have you ever been so hurt by someone that you wanted to destroy everything they loved? Have you ever felt that darkness? Tell me in the comments. Because that night, I wasn't Maya. I was a weapon. Ethan arrived with a bottle of wine. He looked so much like Mark, but with softer eyes. We ate dinner. I poured him a glass, then another, then another. I started talking about the marriage. I started weaving a web of lies and half-truths. I didn't tell him about the cheating. Not yet. Instead, I told him Mark was cold, that he was distant, that I was lonely. I started crying. I feel like I'm invisible. I sobbed into my hands. Ethan moved closer on the couch. He put a hand on my shoulder. You're not invisible, Maya, he said softly. You're amazing. Mark is. He's just stressed. He doesn't mean to hurt you. He doesn't care, I whispered, looking up into Ethan's eyes. He doesn't care about me. And honestly, Ethan, he talks down about you too. That was a lie. But I needed to isolate Ethan. I needed him to feel like it was us against Mark. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? He says you have no ambition. I lied. He says he has to carry the family. I saw the hurt flash in Ethan's eyes. The crack in the pedestal he put his brother on. I pressed into that crack. I moved closer. I put my hand on his knee. You're so much better than him, I whispered. You're kind. You actually listen. Ethan's breath hitched. Maya, we shouldn't. Why? I asked. He's not here. He's probably out, doing God knows what. Why should we be loyal to someone who doesn't respect us? I leaned in. I could feel his hesitation. He was a good man. He loved his brother. But he was also lonely, and he had crushed on me for years. I kissed him. He froze for a second. Then, the alcohol, the lies, and the years of hidden attraction took over. He kissed me back. I led him upstairs, to the master bedroom, to the bed I shared with Mark. I wanted to do it there. I wanted to desecrate that space. I wanted Mark to come home and sleep in a bed where his brother had slept with his wife. But the moment it started, the adrenaline faded, the rage evaporated, and I was left with the cold, hard reality of what I was doing. I was sleeping with my brother-in-law. I was using a human being, a man who trusted me, as a tool to hurt someone else. Ethan was looking at me with affection, with tenderness. He thought we were connecting. He thought this was a moment of shared comfort. I felt sick. I felt a wave of self-loathing so powerful, it almost suffocated me. I shut my eyes tight. I pretended I was somewhere else. When it was over, I rolled away from him immediately. I felt dirty, not just physically, but spiritually. Maya? Ethan whispered, reaching for my hand. I need to sleep, I said coldly. He pulled his hand back. He looked confused, hurt, but he stayed. He slept beside me. I lay awake all night. I watched the digital clock change numbers. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I realized then that revenge doesn't taste sweet. It tastes like ash. I hadn't won. I had just lost the last piece of myself that was good. Sunday morning, 7 a.m. The sun was streaming through the curtains. Ethan was sitting at the kitchen island. He was shirtless, drinking coffee, looking shameful and confused. I was standing by the sink, staring at nothing. Then, the lock turned. The door opened. Mark walked in. He was holding a bag of bagels. He looked happy, rejuvenated. Honey, I'm home, he called out cheerfully. Traffic was murder, but I got the everything bagels you lie. He stopped. He saw me. Then he saw Ethan, shirtless, in his kitchen. Mark looked at the coffee mugs. He looked at the vibe in the room. It was thick with guilt. Ethan? Mark asked, confused. What are you doing here? Ethan couldn't speak. He looked down at his hands. I turned around. I felt dead inside, but I had to finish it. We need to talk, Mark. What is going on? Mark asked, his voice rising. Why is my brother half naked in my kitchen? I know about Jessica, I said calmly. Mark went pale. The bagel bag dropped to the floor. What? Who? Jessica, the receptionist. I saw the texts. I saw the photos. I know you were with her for the last 2 days. Mark started to stammer. The usual cheater's script. Maya, wait. It's not what you think. It was a mistake. I love you. Save it, I said. I took a step forward. You hurt me, Mark. You made me feel worthless. So I wanted to make you feel the same way. Mark looked at me, then he looked at Ethan. The realization hit him like a physical blow. No, Mark whispered. No, you didn't. I did, I said. We slept together. Last night, in your bed. The silence that followed was louder than a gunshot. It was the sound of a family breaking. Mark looked at Ethan. Ethan? Is it true? Ethan started to cry. He nodded. Mark, I'm so sorry. I was drunk, she said. Mark made a sound I will never forget. It was a mix of a scream and a sob. He didn't lunge at me. He lunged at Ethan. He grabbed his little brother by the neck. I screamed. They crashed into the island. Chairs flew. You're my brother, Mark screamed. My own brother. Ethan didn't fight back. He just took it. He was crying, saying, I'm sorry, over and over. I stood there, watching them. This was what I wanted, right? I wanted Mark to hurt. But watching him beat his little brother, watching the 2 men I cared about destroy each other, I realized I was the villain. Mark was a cheater, but I was a monster. Mark left that day. He didn't go to Jessica. He went to a hotel alone. Ethan moved to Colorado a week later. He couldn't face Mark. He couldn't face me. He couldn't face our parents. The family was obliterated. Mark's parents found out. They don't speak to me, but they don't speak to Mark either, and they barely speak to Ethan. Thanksgiving is canceled. Christmas is canceled. The family lineage is poisoned. Mark and I divorced. He married Jessica eventually. They have a kid now. He looks happy in the photos, but I know he doesn't talk to his brother. A hole in his life that I created. I live alone. I kept the house, but I hate it. Every time I walk into the kitchen, I see them fighting. Every time I lie in my bed, I remember the mistake. I wanted revenge, and I got it, but the price was my soul. If you are listening to this, and you are angry, and you are hurt, please, listen to me. Walk away. Pack your bags. Leave him. Take half his money in the divorce. Be successful. Be happy. But do not dive into the mud. Do not use people as weapons. Because when the dust settles, you are the one who has to live with what you did. I won the battle, but I lost the war, and I lost myself. Thank you for listening to my confession. I hope it stops even one person from making the same mistake. Have you ever regretted getting revenge? Or do you think they deserved it? Let me know in the comments. I'm Maya, and I'm still trying to find a way to forgive myself.